What is diversity and inclusion? Is it good for the bottom line? You hear a lot these days about diversity and inclusion. On my LinkedIn page, I've seen more and more announcements for individuals being appointed Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer for certain companies. I've seen this more within the last 3 or 4 years than I have ever in my adult career as a corporate attorney. We really need to understand what diversity and inclusion mean. Diversity is the umbrella term used to represent the various personalities, behaviors, backgrounds, and general states of being represented within a company. Diversity means, plain and simple, everyone is invited to the party. Inclusion means that everyone at the party will have a fun and fair time. Diversity and inclusion should be a corporate initiative designed to employ, represent, and protect different backgrounds, protect dissenting perspectives, as well as also defend similar thinking. Often people have said to me, well, we have all these laws that prevent companies from discriminating. We've got Title VII. It's illegal to discriminate on the basis of age, race, sex, any number of reasons. But that's really more being reactive than, say, proactive. Simply to say that we have a program that prevents people from discriminating does not mean that you're actively going out into the world and bringing in these people as decision makers within the company. That's a big difference. Why would we need it? Why do we need to have diversity and inclusion? It's very simple. You attract more talent. There's more creativity and innovation. Profitable, as I will mention further down the road here, companies who have diversity programs are generally more profitable than companies that don't. You will have more employee engagement, lower turnover, better reputation in the marketplace. I can remember in St. Louis walking into a Home Depot. I noticed that all the signs were in English and in Spanish. St. Louis has a high concentration of Hispanics, but not like in Miami, not like in New York, not like in Los Angeles. But yet, Home Depot took the time to put these signs in Spanish as well as English. Why would you do that? It's very simple. You have people in the Hispanic community who perhaps do not speak English or do not speak English well. They feel comfortable going into a place and looking, wow, this company is thinking about me. And I've noticed that throughout many, many Home Depot stores. That's what the diversity and inclusion is all about. Numerous studies over the last 2 decades from top business schools and management consultants, as well as corporate analysts, all say that diverse teams lead to more innovative solutions and will consistently outperform a team that is more homogeneous. Another study released by the Boston Consulting Group found that increasing the diversity in leadership teams leads to more and better innovation and improved cultural performance. The study found that companies with more diverse management teams have a 19% higher revenue than other companies who don't. Companies who don't focus on it are going to be less profitable. That's why diversity and inclusion is good for the bottom line. It's important to note that it's not easy to do. I am not saying to you that you go into the corporation and say, we're going to have a shakeup, and this is what we're going to do. I think it has to be a thoughtful and methodical process in which to include these individuals. I can remember interviewing a law firm on a major case in the United States, and one of the areas in which the firm was bragging was about the number of women partners that they have in this area. And I think it's great that the firm made an effort to employ more women partners, especially at a firm at that level. However, the question I asked, what are you doing for others? It seems like you're actively recruiting female partners, but what are you doing for Hispanics and African Americans, Asians. The lawyer stood there because he hadn't thought it through. So you see, diversity and inclusion isn't just include one group of people and then say we're done. You have to include as many as you possibly can, because that's the only way that you're really going to have a successful diversity program. Implementing these programs are not easy. They have to assure fair treatment, equal access to opportunity. You have to have teamwork and collaboration. You have to have a focus on innovation and creativity. There has to be organizational flexibility, responsiveness, and agility. You must have conflict resolution processes that are collaborative. There must be evidence of diversity and commitment, either through a chief diversity officer or somebody who is going to take responsibility and ownership for that. Representation of diversity should be at all levels of the organization, not just at the lower. This requires education and training. So it's not just saying we don't discriminate, we follow the law. It's standing there, evaluating yourself, seeing what you have and saying, how can we bring these people into the loop with our company? How can we engage them? Because engaging them is one way that your company, I guarantee you, will be profitable. Stakeholders is a good way to start. You bring people in who have a vested interest with the company, and you start to plot out slowly but surely, how do we integrate this program? There are many seminars, many certifications on the diversity and inclusion, how you can implement them. I'm not really going to get into all of that. I just want to say how important it is to do it. What I want to do is give you some other concrete examples of why it's important. Traveling to New York to interview a law firm for a major case I had in the Ukraine, the lawyer I'm interviewing comes into the office, looks at me and says, "Ándale, ándale, ándale." I sit there. The person sitting with me was somewhat surprised. I thought to myself, well, obviously he thinks I'm Mexican and I'm not. We've had conversations in the past, so with a name like Rodolfo Rivera, he must know I'm Hispanic. The comments were offensive. I was not offended, but they were offensive. But that talks to you about a certain mindset where people think it's okay to do that, and it's not. It's that kind of mindset that blocks diversity. You should never do something like that in a professional meeting. But that's the type of mindset that's prevalent still in America. I call that really a form of passive racism. Some other people call it systemic, but I call it passive. Some people think they're being racist, other people don't. Some know better, others don't know better. And that's one of the hurdles of diversity inclusion, is getting people to overcome that mindset, to overcome stereotypes. And what better way to overcome those stereotypes except for engaging with those individuals? When you look at the United States prior to World War II, where we were somewhat of an isolationist society, we wanted to stay out of war. We wanted to be in our own little world. That is impossible. The world is so interconnected. And to bridge those connections, we need to have people who understand those connections. Diversity and inclusion is not just about race, it's about also the different backgrounds. And there are little things that you can do to help foster this type of thing, even in your own work environment. When I was on the board of the ACC in St. Louis, we had a program that interviewed, we had a pool of about 40 law students. We interviewed them, and they were from every ethnic composition you can think of, every type of background. One such person had a horrible situation where her father was in deportation proceedings for 20 years, which is why she wanted to become a lawyer. Other had things that are too horrible to mention in their background, but yet they were persevering to go to law school. And that's exactly what they did. We had to interview them. The purpose of this role was to give them a chance to work in the corporate world, give them an opportunity to see what it's like, and perhaps provide opportunities, not perhaps, provide opportunities that will give them the opportunity that they normally will not have applying. These students have good grades. We selected about 7 of them, placed them with different companies in St. Louis. The beautiful thing that happened is that all of these students performed better than any of the companies expected. Some companies even took 2. Every year, companies would call and say, are you going to have more students for us? Yes, we'll take them. The program was so successful that it still continued. It's been a while since I've been involved with it, but that was a program that I had my heart into because I could understand, I can feel, having grown up with some adversity, it just was a great opportunity that perhaps didn't exist when I was there. And many of these students went on to corporate jobs. Some were refugees, some had just all other horrible things. But that's an example of a diversity program that worked. You gave people an opportunity with different mindsets, different points of view. You put them into a world that was somewhat homogeneous and their contribution was invaluable. That's what we need to understand about diversity and inclusion. Don't think of it as we're doing them a favor. Think of it as, my God, these people bring value. They bring value to us. And to do that, we may need to spend some more time. We may need to educate them, but they are going to bring value. They are definitely going to bring value. One of the amazing companies that I'm proud to be associated with is the Association of Corporate Counsel. Originally, the group started as basically as a US-centric group. They needed to expand. The ACC is now known as the Association of Corporate Counsel. And under Vita Richardson's leadership, the membership has grown exponentially. It has grown into, my God, 45% increase in membership growth, 97% satisfaction rate for educational programs, primarily because of the diverse groups. If you look at the staff and the board members of the ACC, it's almost like a model United Nations. There are people from all walks of life. That has led to the success of the Association of Corporate Counsel as an organization and has allowed it to grow. Has allowed it to grow in an incredible way. Imagine if you do that with a company. Imagine that you take these types of people. And when I say these types, I'm one of those types of people. And bring them into the loop, what they have to offer. I was a solo practitioner. I knew nothing about title insurance. And if I were to have filed an application to work for my company, I would have been turned down flat. But the reason I was hired was because of my knowledge of Spanish, my understanding of the cultural in Latin America, and I had a different way of thinking. They taught me the insurance products I needed to know, and I have plenty of experts with the company who can teach me. But what I brought to the table was my understanding of different cultures and areas where we were going to do business, where we were going to expand. That's what a diverse person, that's what a diverse team can do. And the company was very receptive to doing what we needed to do. You just do it, get it done. Even in the way I manage litigation. Many of you work with lawyers in the United States, you know the mindset, but my God, try working with lawyers in Mexico. Try working with lawyers in Central America and Germany. It's a different mindset. It's a different mindset that's difficult for somebody who perhaps doesn't understand it, they've been in that situation, perhaps may not be able to manage it as well as somebody who has. That's the value of a diverse team. That's the value of diversity. Sometimes people think, they say, do we really need it? An interesting point to consider is the population of the United States of America. There are 328 million people, more or less. In fact, to be exact, 328, 239, 523 million people. Of that group, 76% are white. That comes to about 250,446,756.05. I don't know where the 0.05 comes from, but there's, I guess, a 0.05 person somewhere. Black or African American alone is 13.4%, or 43 million people. American Indian, Alaska Native, 1.3%, 4 million. Asian, 5.9, about 19 million. Native Hawaiian, 0.2%, 650,000. People 2 or more races, 2.8%, 9 million. Hispanic or Latino, 18%. Think about that. Hispanic and Latino, 18%, which comes to about 60 million people. That is a big market, isn't it? You can't just say they're in America, they should adapt to our ways. No, absolutely not. We need to cater as companies. We need to cater to the membership that we have. We need to reach out to these people. And of course, if we are trying to reach out to them, we must bring them into the loop. We must make them part of the process. We must have them be there at the table to be able to provide ideas. That's why diversity is important. It's not because it's such a social custom. It's not because it's a way to, well, let's do something nice for somebody. No. It's a way to become more profitable. It's a way to work more collaboratively. It is a way to just do better throughout the world. Even the decision by Home Depot to put those things in Spanish. I'm not privy to what Home Depot does, but that little thing, that little act alone of putting the signs in Spanish is something that impressed me, being bilingual. I was flabbergasted. I thought, well, and you know what? I started buying more at Home Depot. If they took the time to take into account people like me, well, I won't say people like me, I speak English and Spanish very well, but for people who were my ethnic background, they deserve my business. So whenever I can, I shop at Home Depot. Because you see, you develop also a sense of customer loyalty. In America, we must think about the other world. We must acknowledge that we are not alone. And we will never, ever be in a situation where we can survive like we did prior to World War I, prior to World War II, where we have everything we need. The world is so intertwined right now that all we can do, the only way to survive, is to bring in ethnically diverse teams. It's a wonderful thing. I would encourage everyone, not just with the company, but even in your daily lives, to think about diversity and inclusion in your personal lives too. Get to know other people. When you see somebody that you know they're from a different culture, ask them about their culture. Start learning more about it. Because as you understand it more at a personal level, you know what? It will transfer over to your work environment. Diversity and inclusion is a good thing, but diversity and inclusion is also profitable. Thank you.